Typhoon Vamco, locally known as Ulysses, pulling away from the Philippines today and headed towards Vietnam. I want to talk about the forecast track with this storm and how it's going to impact there. But first, let's mention some of those impacts out here in the Philippines. On the Marikina River, flood levels up near their highest since 2009 with Typhoon Ondoy. It's just absolutely incredible. Hundreds of homes submerged. Some of the images there, people stuck on the roofs, is just heartbreaking. Even out further towards the east, though, in Catanduanes, serious flooding from people who were still recovering from Super Typhoon Coney. It's just widespread impacts. You can see here in microwave imagery just how this raked across southeastern Luzon, passed just north of Metro Manila, and that was the big issue, and moved into this low-lying plain. Those winds came on shore from the west, persistent for hours. Not to mention the heavy rainfall that hit across the mountains here. It just dropped a copious amount of precipitation, and those water levels began to rise. This is something I've been talking about for days. The potential was there for some serious flooding, and unfortunately it came to fruition. Now the storm is pushing off here towards the west, and we still got some trailing showers, especially along the east coast, just because that moisture coming on shore, it's getting thrusted up the mountains. You got that daytime heating, extra precipitation. So despite the fact it's moving away, I would love to say clear, dry air is moving in, but that's not really the case. What we are seeing, clear, dry air, is out ahead of this storm system, and that will begin to make it weaken as it moves closer to Vietnam. All right, so winds right now 111, gusting to 157 kilometers per hour. Pressure is up to 980 HPA, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. JTWC does keep it at typhoon intensity with winds just a bit higher, around 75 gusting to 85 knots. Now notice though, large wind field on the northern periphery of this storm system. That is due to the interaction with the northeast monsoon, and that interaction is going to cause this to weaken. Actually, JTWC, prior to landfall, they go from 70 down to 55 and around 35 knots. So this likely is going to be a tropical storm as it comes on shore. Big issue for Vietnam is going to be the rainfall. Like I've been saying, like a broken record for over a month now, just because of these back-to-back storm systems. Now, what's going to cause this to weaken? You might be thinking, Robert, it's moving across these warmer waters. Why are we going to see a little bit of dissipation here? It is all thanks to this cooler, drier air coming in with the northeast monsoon that should start to wrap around this. By the way, look at this fine line of cool, dry air from our typhoon extending all the way back across North Pacific. I've been seeing some social media posts talking about this. Some people saying this is the result of Ulysses Vamco and how strong it is. Actually, Vamco is kind of the minor situation of how strong the weather phenomena going on here. That's just down here. That is kind of secondary to the northeast monsoon and this massive surge of cold air. We've seen this just a week ago with Atsani, in fact. You have that warm air towards the south, that cool change of the monsoon trying to push south, almost like a rainy season front that we see in the spring here, but it stretches all the way back towards Canada. It's pretty incredible to look at. I'm going to make a totally separate video on this, trying to explain what is going on here. Please check down in the description below. But what you need to know if you are here in Vietnam is that cool, dry air is going to be moving in. It's going to wrap into our storm system. You can see that here in water vapor imagery, and thus Category 1 tropical storm prior to landfall. Don't expect anything as far as extreme winds to come out of it. Locally winds that are enough to cause some damage for sure. But the big issue is going to be the interaction here, that big wind field towards the north, even across Hainan, and the persistent rainfall that is going to be setting up from Da Nang towards the north here across Vietnam. Some areas as much as 500 millimeters into the mountains is likely. I can't say this enough. I know I sound like a broken record. I know it feels like this is the exact same show I made a week ago, I made 2 weeks ago, I made 3 weeks ago on Vietnam. It's the rainfall when it hits this mountains on already saturated grounds. We're talking about very serious and significant threat of flooding. Just like The Philippines, which have seen 6 named storms in 4 weeks, so have our friends further towards the west. One other thing I do want to quickly mention, I know we are all typhoon fatigued, and the number one question I've been seeing is there another storm happening? I have scoured GFS and the European model. Nothing in the next week or two is popping up at this time, according to the Climate Prediction Center. Over the course of the next week, and definitely into the next 2 weeks, there is a below than average chance of something developing towards the east of the Philippines. But definitely you got to continue to check back in, because we know how these systems can spin up pretty quickly as well. So it's no break, no rest for us out here. And it's been absolutely rough. Follow me on all these social media platforms, by the way, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. It's that much more encouraging just to keep these videos going as well. I mainly do this as a hobby. Furthermore, really, my heart goes out to everybody being impacted by the storm system. I hope my videos did help out at least a little bit. I know it's just a small drop in the bucket as far as what needs to be done, but hopefully my warnings and at least the information being presented here helped some people decide if they needed to evacuate or not. Stay safe out there, and as always, thanks for watching.